Hi there guys, I hope you have had a good day. Now Anthony Joshua is obviously back in training, getting ready for his next fight against Kubrat Pulev. There is no date and venue at the moment, but there will be very soon because boxing is starting back up again. We have had a few fights from Frank Warren, we have Fight Camp coming up, that is going to be very exciting, but Anthony Joshua is obviously back in training, getting ready for Pulev when that fight may come. Now he released some footage of him doing some neck exercises, and quick disclaimer, do not try this. I almost broke my neck trying to do this. I mean, the neck exercises where you lift your body up with your neck isn't that bad. Your neck's a bit achy after, but doing the part where you roll your head right back and your body comes back on top of it, I mean, that could end quite badly. But the way Anthony Joshua does it obviously is trying to build his neck muscles up, because obviously taking shock out of some punches that he is taking. Obviously, if you remember Mike Tyson, he had a neck that was like, what, 22 inches or something crazy like that. So it's obviously something that he's followed in the mold of from older fighters. Anthony Joshua has obviously found his own rhythm, his own way of training throughout his career. But what he has done is taken things from other legends and put them and molded them into his own training plan. And that was the reason behind Anthony Joshua going over and training with Vladimir Klitschko. It wasn't necessarily to go over there and see how good he was against the champion, or whether he could beat the champion up, or whether he got in the ring with the champion. Could he beat him now? It wasn't about that. Anthony Joshua said he went over there to see how a champion sets up their camp, what they do during training, and that was it really, just to learn. And obviously he was there to help Klitschko prepare, but ultimately the plan was to go over and see how a champion trains, how they set up for a world title fight, because at that point Anthony Joshua was still just a prospect. And these neck exercises that Anthony Joshua is doing, I believe Mike Tyson used to do them. Now, there is studies that show that maybe it's not good for you, or maybe it is good for you, but then I guess we get that with everything, like meat's good for you, meat's bad for you, vegetables are good for you, but you need more protein, just stuff like that. There's kind of an opinion on both sides. So I guess you just have to trust your own judgment. But obviously what Anthony Joshua is trying to do is build up the neck muscles. He also often puts on like a harness over his head and attaches weight to that harness, and obviously does exercises like almost like crunches with his neck, building up those muscles. And I believe that it's not something necessarily he's copied from Mike Tyson, just like he hasn't really copied things from Vladimir Klitschko. It's just, you see how champions do it, how legends have done it before, and I guess you could take a little bit of that and add it to what you do, and that is what Anthony Joshua has done. That being said, the sort of crunch neck exercises, they look not too bad. I mean, your neck aches like crazy after doing them, especially if you've never done it before. But the part where you roll your head right back, yeah, that's pretty tough to do. But I guess the one good thing is Anthony Joshua is back in training. He's back in the UK as well. So if he has started training, I mean, I don't think he started training camp just yet, but we will know a lot more about when this fight is going to happen between him and Kubrat Pulev once Anthony Joshua starts training camp, because when he starts, he will have 3 months or 12 weeks until the fight. So we will know then when the fight will happen. Whenever Anthony Joshua we think is starting training camp, give it 3 months, that is likely when the fight will happen. So maybe judging by this, end of October, early November, I think that Anthony Joshua will fight before Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, and I believe that's important. Reason being is Anthony Joshua is always fighting after Deontay Wilder. I mean, if Tyson Fury beats him, then Deontay Wilder is kind of irrelevant to undisputed. Obviously, Deontay Wilder's not done. He's lost 2 fights to the same man in his whole career. So I'm not saying Deontay Wilder's done, but he's out of the picture for undisputed. So Anthony Joshua maybe would benefit from fighting before them as opposed to after them, because if Anthony Joshua has to fight after Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, then he's kind of got a bit of pressure on him. Like, if he doesn't win, then undisputed cannot happen. He's out of that. Whereas if he fights before, gets all that pressure off of him, then the pressure is on between Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Whoever wins that fight likely will go on to undisputed. So where Anthony Joshua knows that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder will be fighting in December, likely on the 18th. I think that was the date they were kind of planning on. So if he knows that, that means he can plan around that fight and make sure his fight is before it, meaning that he gets Kubrat Pulev sorted before Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. maybe he can even go over there and watch Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder and be ringside, because I don't believe he's ever been ringside for a Deontay Wilder fight or a Tyson Fury fight. So that would be kind of interesting. And that would definitely put the pressure on Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, seeing Anthony Joshua ringside, watching them slug it out and see who gets to go on and face Anthony Joshua. So I believe all in all, it would be better for AJ to get his fight done with Kubrat Pulev before Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder 3. Because Anthony Joshua can. I mean, he does need a crowd, but I don't see a crowd of that magnitude that Anthony Joshua normally draws coming back this year at all. So is he going to wait until next year? Because that's one thing that has to be factored in as well. Can Anthony Joshua go a full year without fighting? Yeah, he can, but he's coming into his peak, his prime. So he needs to be fighting regularly, not once a year. I mean, he wouldn't have even fought this year. So that cannot happen because Anthony Joshua is coming into the prime of his career. He needs to make sure that he is active during that time, and having a year out is not going to be good for that, because that's what it's going to be anyway. I mean, if he's not going to fight until November, December, that will be one whole year Anthony Joshua has been out of the ring. That's not good. I mean, he's not getting old or anything like that, but I mean, it's a short career, so it needs to be filled with fights. And obviously, Anthony Joshua isn't the type of person who wants to take time off. He's not the type of person who wants to say, oh, I'm done with boxing for a minute. You know, give me a couple of months and I'll come back. But Anthony Joshua stays training all of the time. Boxing is the main focus in his life, obviously aside from family and that. But, I mean, he is so committed to the sport of boxing. So why have all of that commitment if he cannot fight? So he must fight. He needs to get a fight this year, whether it's with a crowd, without a crowd. I know that it's going to be money that's lost through the live gate, but ultimately, he's a pro boxer, a pro athlete. He must be in the ring and fighting. I guess what I'm saying is it worth maybe taking a little bit less so that Anthony Joshua can remain some sort of active? I mean, fighting once in a year is not active, but given the current climate, that cannot be helped. But if the fight must happen behind closed doors, then it must happen behind closed doors. Yes, money will be lost. I mean, Anthony Joshua isn't going to mind taking less money, I don't believe, but Kubrat Pulev is. Obviously he is, because this is his big payday, his last opportunity at a world championship. But what can you do? What can you do? Can you have a live crowd there with all of these people? It's dangerous at the moment, so no, it cannot happen. Can it happen with maybe 2,000 people at the O2? Maybe as many as 10 during, obviously, November, when things hopefully will be better. So that could happen, but still, the fight at the moment would have to happen behind closed doors with the current climate. So that's the only thing we can go off of. We cannot plan what is going to happen in 2 or 3 months' time because we don't know. So is it going to be worthwhile putting on a show saying that, okay, buy your tickets, come to the fight in November, then all of a sudden that cannot happen due to restrictions and other things like that? I'm not going to say lockdown because I really hope it's not going to happen, but I mean, due to restrictions, that might not happen. So why put on a fight like that? Then it has to be cancelled again. So plan for it to be behind closed doors, I believe, is the best way for this fight to be ensured to definitely happen. If people can be there, people can be there. But plan for it to be behind closed doors without no crowd, and then the fight will go ahead regardless. I don't believe it's a good idea to plan that there will be a live crowd there when there might not be. So the only way this fight can realistically happen is if it is planned to have no crowd there. Or if there can be a crowd there, then great. But if there is no crowd due to restrictions in November, December when the fight happens, then the fight can still go ahead. I am pretty sure at this stage that we can assume that this fight will be in the UK because options are being explored in the UK and elsewhere, but the UK seems like the place this fight will happen, and it's the right place. Anthony Joshua went over to Saudi Arabia, a neutral location, to regain his world titles. Now it's time for him to come back to the UK, defend the world titles he won back. In my personal opinion, I believe that's what should happen. I believe the fight should be in the UK because, as I said, Anthony Joshua had to go over and win the belts back after losing them in his American debut. So why not come back, bring the belts home? So this fight will happen in the UK, I believe, whether it's in the O2, whether it be at a stadium, obviously, so the air escapes, making it a little bit easier to social distance and make sure that this virus isn't a problem. So whatever happens, I believe it should be and probably will be in the UK. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on this? Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe if you are new. Thanks, guys.